catastrophe this big has left almost all the Indians in absolute shock. Yes, discussing about the recent flash flood that occurred in the Uttarkashi district of the Uttarakhand state. Welcome to Believers As Academy, and in this today's particular video we will be discussing about what caused this huge disaster. Especially we will be studying about what cloudburst is in the first place, about flash floods and all the possible government interventions, right? So without any further ado, let's begin. And first let's understand what happened or what is the issue all about. So the disaster struck in the Uttarakhand the Uttarakhand state, and especially in the Uttarkashi district, the Dharali region of the Uttarkashi district. So what exactly happened? The Kir Ganga river, which overflooded with a sudden flush, sudden rush of water, which took the entire region, the district, right, was rolled out, was completely washed away by the overflowing of the Kir Ganga river. And what was the issue? The reason was the sudden cloudburst, right? And the entire Dharali village has been washed away. Many houses, shops, even tourist lodgings, including the lives of many residents, tourists, right, is still, people have lost their lives. Many are still stranded, right? Even the SDRF, the NDRF, the ITBP, right? The rescue efforts are still going on, and even including Indian Army has also joined, right? Such a huge disaster after a very long time. So in this particular video, we will understand what cloudburst is. Okay, moving forward, the cloudburst, we'll have to understand what cloudburst is. So it is the sudden, as the word cloudburst generally speaks. It says the cloud bursts open. You can just imagine the cloud automatically bursts open. It's not a normal precipitation. It's not a very common thing that is visible. It's an extreme weather condition where the expectancy, or when it is conducive for sudden or intense rainfall over a particular region, right? Over a particular region, and could be a localized area. And the rainfall that I'm talking about is more than 10 centimeter per hour, and this in a very small area, let's say for 100 square kilometer, right? So this is what we call as the cloudburst. Unlike the normal precipitation, the normal rainfall, this is an extreme weather condition accompanied with thunderstorm. There could be hailstorm, thunder, right, plus an above average extreme rainfall, cats and dogs rainfall of more than 10 centimeter per hour is categorized as the cloudburst, right? The sudden flash flood, right? After this, the near consequence after the end result of the cloudburst is the event of flash flood. The sudden flash flood surge carrying debris, water downhill as a high velocity mud flow, destroying vegetation, infrastructure, and in its path. So the cloudburst accompanied with the flash flood, eventually leading to a situation where the entire area, which is the affected area, the complete area gets waterlogged, washed away with huge slumps of soil and the huge debris. And this is what exactly happened in the Uttarkashi district as well. Now let's simply understand what cloudburst is and what is the process. So the moist air, which is the air that contains moist, right, when it passes through the normal plains and suddenly encounters a hill area, a hilly region, it has to suddenly make an upward shift. So the warm air, then making that upward shift, loses its temperature and becomes cool. The sudden cooling of the warm air, followed by the formation of the clouds, right? And the clouds that I'm talking about are the cumulonimbus clouds. which are categorized as huge clouds, right? And because of this formation and the sudden cooling of the air, which is filled with moisture, right? And also because it is forming a cumulonimbus, cloud doesn't essentially lose the moisture then and there. It accumulates for over a period of time, and suddenly after a particular point of time, after the cumulonimbus clouds gradually grow, and after a particular point of time when it doesn't grow enough and when the moisture is completely dense, and it suddenly breaks out, right? The rain suddenly breaks out. And considering the slope gradient of the region where this is happening, because of gravity and many other reasons, the huge slums, the water that comes out, the gushes, comes with soil, debris, and anything and everything that is part of this hill. So that is the reason why cloudbursts are mostly seen, in the Himalayan regions, the mountain regions, and the worst hit are the Himalayan regions of the Indian subcontinent, right? So this is a simple explanation as to how the cloudburst occurs. And because of the cloudburst, the next end result is the flash flood, where a sudden surge in water level can be seen in the nearby river areas, occurring due to what? The immediate intense rainfall, above average, abnormal rainfall. And this rainfall which I'm talking about is highly localized, and of course it is short-lived, meaning which this doesn't happen for anything like more than 5-6 hours. No, it's a sudden instant rain that happens very quickly. Highly localized means it is if it talking about the rain, the cloudburst, it doesn't happen over an entire region, entire state. It is localized. It is only part and parcel of a particular region. In this particular case, this is the Dharali district, right? And it is short-lived, usually unfolding within 6 hours of the triggering precipitation, right? So after the 6 hours, after the cloudburst happens, then instantly the near outcome is the flash flood due to the over runaway of the local rivers. And in the Uttarakhand case, it is the Khir Ganga river which overflew, right? Now, what are the primary causes of flash floods? One is the extremely heavy rainfall, right, along with the soil's ability to absorb, the inability of the soil to absorb the water, and also the drainage capacity which cannot percolate the water down within, and also considering the slope gradient and the gravity, along with the extreme water, right, enhances the flash floods, right? So that is one of the main reason. Second is the rapid snow melt. Due to this is also another reason as to how flash floods can happen, due to the melting of snow, which is induced by increased temperature once in a while, and this could also generate sudden water flow into the lowlands. Third is any instances when there is a breakage or some sort of leakage in the nearby dam, or ice or debris blockages, right, in the dam region, after, especially when the dam gate is opened and there are some blockages in the runway. That is also one of the instances when flash floods can occur. Other one is the urbanization with impervious surface, right, like having roads, pavements and buildings which prevents the water from seeping in, right, which prevents infiltration and intensifies runoff, elevating flash flood. So this is also another reason as to why the flash flood occurs. Now, why Uttarakhand particularly has been the near affecting region of flash floods? This is not the very first time that it happened. Uttarakhand itself has seen many such incidences. Now, why Uttarakhand specifically is more vulnerable is, one, because of the steep Himalayan slopes, right? As we discussed, cloudburst usually happens because of the sudden rise of the warm air, the sudden rise of the warm moist air, and when it rises, right, and the sudden cooling of that warm air induces to form the precipitation, which happens to create a huge cloud, and then water, the cloud precipitation, the cloud breaks out, and then the rainfall occurs. So this is a common feature in most of the mountain region, and since Uttarkashi is situated on the steep Himalayan slopes, and fractured geology limit water absorption, amplify rapid runoff. So this is one of the reasons about its geographical location, and another important factor is the fractured geological limit. Since we all know the Himalayas are highly active, the tectonic plates are highly active, and all the fractures that it forms, right, it isn't sufficient where it does not absorb or percolate enough water, and over the period of time, because of the frequent downsloping and also the insufficient fractures, right, the rapid runoff of the water takes place. Next is the unplanned tourism and the development of roads, hotels. So usually Uttarakhand, if you see, mountain region is more prevalent or more preferred by tourists to tourists for their vacation, right? It is the most desirable vacation spot for anyone who would prefer to go stay in a hill station. And these hill stations, the over exploitation of the hills by converting the hills, or let's say deforestation is another reason how hills gets exploited. And why for all this? To build resorts, hotels, right, even some retreat areas, which only is useful for the tourism part, but over exploitation leads to this particular incident. So the very recent example is the very recent flood which happened in Wayanad, right? The landslides that happened in Wayanad is also another example of over exploitation and unplanned tourism and development of the region. Other important region is the climate change, the intensifying climate change, which induce cloudbursts by increasing atmospheric moisture content and instability, right? So the sudden rise of the temperature, which induces glacier melting, the ice melting, and everything else that accompanies with it, is what is the reason that caused the flood. Now let's discuss about and yeah, this is one of few of the examples in India with respect to cloudbursts. As we said, Himachal Pradesh 2023 cloudburst during monsoon triggered multiple flash floods and landslides, resulting in dozens of casualties and widespread destruction. So this is one that happened in 2023. Another instance is same in Uttarakhand in the year 2013, where because of cloudburst, a devastating flood occurred, and along with landslides, and over 6,000 people died. So that is not a small thing. Over 6,000 people died and were declared missing. Infrastructure, pilgrimage routes, everything were destroyed and completely damaged. Another such instance is Mumbai's 2005 extreme urban runoff. So this is an example of urban flooding. Almost all of this is part of your man-made and your natural flooding. And this one particular is the man-made flooding, where it talks about where the urban runoff, the water had completely gushed in, and with the antiquated drainage systems designed for just 25 meter, and massive urban impervious contributing to catastrophic flooding. As we had discussed, this is with respect to the urban flooding, mostly a part of your man-made flooding, because or due to what unplanned, or let's say insufficient planning when constructing a city, lack of the drainage system and the sewer systems that contributed to this, right? So now, what are the government steps, the mitigation strategies that is required during these times? One is the early warning system and monitoring. We have to try and install and implement to have more early warning systems, like the use of rain gauges, piezometers, inclinometers, INSAR, etc., like to get the real-time data of the rainfall, the soil moisture of that particular area, and also the slope movement, right? And since in this particular generation, the AI is almost reaching everywhere in almost all the disciplines, it is also important to implement or integrate AI in these models, where we can make use of them to get real-time data with respect to forecasting and to ultimately issue predictive warnings. Then hazard zoning and land use planning, very important with respect to the state government and even the district government also, where proper planning and in fact the landslide hazard zoning must be clearly categorized, clearly defined in every district, right from the zonal level and even from to the district level and even till the state level. The mapping, the hazard mapping must be done, and the seismic hazard zoning also must be a mandatory thing to be calculated or to be done and to be integrated while getting or while doing all the construction activities in the hill regions. And those areas which are prone or which are a part of landslide hazard zoning, there could be certain limitations from the government in terms of what kind of constructions they have to do, right, in order to implement some modern technologies in the construction. And also it could be possible that the state government or the district authority can limit the number of floors that the permission that the owners want to take to construct a hotel or a restaurant or whatever it may be. So there could be restrictions in terms of how to build a particular infrastructure, and this could be done if the proper hazard zoning is done in the areas. So it talks about designating high risk zones as no construction or strictly regulated zones, right? So there has to be few areas with respect to which those are very high risk zones where construction is not at all possible. Then the ecological and structural mitigation. So it talks about using bioengineering techniques such as slope stabilization with vegetation, terracing and retaining structures to prevent erosion and landslides. This is also very important. This is the community building practice, the community practices that the people, the locals and even the government also have to collaborate with the locals, and more focus should be on improving the vegetation, terrace farming, terracing and retaining structures to prevent erosion in the slopes. So this is also the part of the government which the government has to try and implement, and also educate the local people about the importance of the natural vegetation and of not indulging in deforestation. All those things are very important. Next is the institutional framework and capacity building. So it talks about empowering institutions like we have the one already present, the Uttarakhand Landslide Mitigation and Management Center, to map landslide prone zones, conduct scientific researches with respect to the mitigation planning, and also have to coordinate with the local government with respect to the implementation, is what the point says. And lastly, it's the community preparedness and technological integration. It talks about various programs that the government is launching, or it has launched the one like Apda Sakshi Yojana, where it trains local women volunteers in early warning, rescue and the first aid, right? So this is very important. So apart from that, it also is important to integrate modern technologies like having drones for the help of surveillance and use of GIS mapping and satellite monitoring to identify and monitor certain hazardous zones, right? So in fact this is all easier said than done, because when a flash flood happens, it just happens unpredicted. It just happens within seconds that it is very difficult to predict. But still, to some extent, if the proper implementation of certain things happen, like at for example the rain gauges, piezometers, of course this could not probably give even though we had gotten the real time, the flood happened so instantly, the incident happened so instantly that within 5-10 minutes everything was washed out. So nothing could have been possible. But still, it is important to understand the things that are supposed to be inculcated even for the future instances, to make sure that these things do not repeat, right? So anyway, that is all for today's video. So for more such informative content, please do subscribe Believers IAS YouTube channel. Signing off, this is Madan Gopal. Have a beautiful day.